So I'm signed up to run the Grandma's Marathon again next summer. And my goal is to get at least like 300 or 400 people to cheer for me over the course of the race. And that might sound like a ridiculous goal, but if your running goal is to average a high number of miles each week, or to have a running streak for a long period of time, or just averaging a certain number of likes on your posts on Strava, or having a certain number of subscribers on your YouTube channel, then that's essentially what your running goal is. It's a vanity metric. A running streak doesn't mean you're getting better at running, or averaging a high number of miles each week doesn't mean you're getting better at running, or having a certain number of likes on each post on Strava, or a certain number of subscribers on your YouTube channel. None of these things mean you're necessarily getting better at running. Jay Leno was one of my favorite comedians, and in his book Leading with My Chin, he had this quote where he said, "I never worried about deals or agents or additions. All I worried about was, am I getting funnier?" Which honestly is the only thing we should be worried about. Are we getting better? Are we getting faster? That's what's important. For example, there's something called Goodhart's Law, which says that when a measure of performance becomes a goal, it ceases to be a good measure. You can measure a student's learning by testing them, right? But if teachers are graded by how well their students do on tests, they may end up, instead of teaching more about how to be better test takers. And then suddenly testing becomes a poor indicator of how much a student is learning. They're just getting better at taking tests. To put it simply, if a measure of performance, say gauging fitness by how many miles you run, becomes a stated goal, running 100 miles a week all throughout the summer, it can have unintended consequences like burnout and injury. The value of measure actually becomes a very poor value of measure. If your goal is to run 100 miles a week, you might forget to take easy days or off days. If the goal is simply to run 100 miles a week each week, you'll optimize to become the second best person at running 100 miles a week, behind Tyler Germain, of course. But, as my coach Pete used to say, there is no award for how many miles you ran in a training block. If the main focus is the number of miles, you'll lose sight of the big picture. Your goal of hitting a certain number of miles each week could come at the expense of actual genuine improvement. Obviously, it's important to have goals, but it's also important to make sure we're not optimizing for metrics. Like, don't trade a great spring race, right, for a winter running streak, a mileage streak. That doesn't make any sense at all. You're just not optimizing for performance if you do that. But here's the thing. Assessing improvement is much harder to measure than subscriber count or mileage totals or likes on Strava or running streaks. So it's super easy to fall into the trap of substituting a vanity metric in its place. Just remember to keep these as measures and not overarching goals. Don't lose sight of what's important. Are you getting better? Because the rest is just vanity.